Well, hello there, folks, and welcome to another episode. We're here in Namibia.
So folks, Brendan has given himself the crazy task. He's going to shoot this entire Namibia trip with just the 500mm lens that he has. And
my arm's so tired.
The thing is massive. But we are in this beautiful Quiver Tree Forest and having an absolutely lovely time. I managed to find a nice picture of Brendan there with that colossal lens and this beautiful tree here that you can see beside me. And it's a wonderful photograph, which we will look at now shortly. But you might be asking yourself, weren't you just in Ireland? Yes, I was. And here we are now in Namibia for 2 glorious weeks where I am with Brendan doing a workshop. And wow, I am thrilled to be back. And we start our adventure here in this marvelous Quiver Tree Forest. And it is a place that is just very unique and gorgeous, but wow, it's so beautiful. So we are here for the sunset. We've got probably about an hour before the sun's to go down. We are then going to come back for some Astro and potentially come for a sunrise. So lots and lots of photography opportunities. Now, here's the thing. When we arrived, we were told a bus of 30 other people turned up. Now, it's not a huge amount of space in here. So we've come off to the side here to find some bit more kind of unique compositions, just so not everybody's stepping on each other's toes. But there is potential for us to kind of get back into the main kind of grounds of the Quiver Tree. But for now, we are going to continue exploring and find some compositions here because it is gorgeous. So let's go. Welcome, friends, to the ASMR Photography Studio, and welcome to the Quiver Tree Forest. This first image I really do like as kind of, environmental portraiture goes. I think it suits Brendan's kind of style very well. The quiver trees themselves are absolutely marvelous photographic subjects, as we shall explore throughout this video. But first, this is just a nice fun little image that I captured very off the cuff, and super duper delighted with how it turned out. So let's keep rolling and let's get on with it. The thing about photographing a location like this is, at first it can feel very overwhelming and very cluttered, and it really requires you to have a bit of time to just be patient with it. Take your time, have a wander, and see what you can see. One of the nice things about it also as well is because it's such a beautifully clear blue sky, getting nice and low and looking up at the quiver trees and trying to find a nice frame, and it's just so beautifully contrasty because the golden light on the tree, it trunks itself, and then that beautiful blue just blend together so beautifully. I was lying on the ground just a moment ago and I managed to frame up a bit of a shot up there. And also as well, one thing that we were all talking about and admiring is the texture on the actual tree trunks themselves. It's gorgeous. I likened it to looking at sand. There's some wonderful textures to take advantage of, and you can absolutely rest assured I did exactly that. So if either of those pictures turned out to be any good, I'll pop them up on the screen and walk you through them. Classic ASMR Photography Lab style. Let's keep exploring. When you're in situations such as these, when things can seem very cluttered, it's always worthwhile taking your time to explore and try your best to try and find some separation within the landscape that you are in. For this particular image, like I mentioned, I was lying down on my back. I don't even know if there's scorpions there. I never asked, but thankfully I didn't get stung by anything. But lying down really gave me a great opportunity to look up and make this tree look giant. It is a wonderful tree. Now for this next image, I just changed to my mid-ranged zoom and just focused in on a bit more of a detail shot. Again, trying to keep in mind that contrast between that nice hint of orange glow you can see and of course the beautiful blue sky. And again, as I mentioned, the bark of these trees are wonderful, wonderful things to photograph, and the way they glow in the golden light is something to behold. So definitely capturing detailed shots such as this one are an absolute must. And for me, this triplet of images tell a very nice story to the trees that grow in this absolutely wonderful, wonderful landscape. So, wow, that's marvellous. So what I've actually done now is swapped over to my 100 to 400 because there are some beautiful opportunities to photograph and try isolate some of these trees that are off out in the distance and use some of this kind of foreground brush essentially to create these nice kind of frames around the quiver trees that are off in the background. And it is absolutely gorgeous scene here. It's so, so beautiful. And I've also taken a few photographs of some of the... It's a bit rocky here, folks. I've also been taking a few photographs of some of the group, which also lends itself to adding such beautiful scale into the frames as well. So it's just such a magic place. And apart from the huge group over there, it's nice and quiet, but nonetheless, it's absolutely beautiful. So here we go, let's keep going. It's so gorgeous. But if any of those pictures turn out to be any good, I will pop them up on the screen for you now and we can have a look. It's such a unique landscape and it's so gorgeous. So while these two images that we are going to look at now were technically taken at different times throughout the evening, I wanted to always try and keep in my mind while I was photographing to try and find these natural frames. This first image was shot just before the sun set. While it's maybe not the strongest of compositions, you can kind of see what I was aiming for here. I still do like it. The lone tree in the middle is so prominent in the frame and it's just captured then within these beautiful, beautiful branches of this quiver tree that's in front of me. Now for this next frame, again, this was shot much later in the evening, just after the sun has set, and it was just this beautiful silhouette I managed to find looking through a quiver tree that was right in front of me, and using a nice kind of shallow depth of field and punched in. I think I was all the way at maybe about 70 mils. It really creates that nice depth and that nice natural frame that I find wonderfully pleasing. Really, really happy with how these two turned out for sure. So I've wandered a bit away here over to this beautiful clumping of these gorgeous quiver trees and I hopefully found some nice composition. I've actually swapped to my mid-range zoom because just to add a slight bit of extra compression, I did photograph some wide angle shots too, and it's so beautiful. The light fades so fast here though, and so I'm gonna head back over to the group. So if any of those pictures turned out to be any nice, which I think they will, because I really, it's such a beautiful scene. If they turned out to be any good, sure, I'll pop them up on the screen for you now. Absolutely magic. Absolutely always worth your while to take a little wander if you have the time and the space to find compositions. Spending time in the landscape like this is so, so important because, as I mentioned earlier, things can tend to be a bit overwhelming. So wandering away from everything can really help focus you in on finding different elements to photograph within the landscape. For this first particular image, I really like the balance that I was able to achieve using just the trunk of this quiver tree close, and of course then that beautiful, beautiful quiver tree in the midground there is absolutely fantastic. And for this last image, I really was looking to try and utilize some of the rocks in the foreground to help act as a nice kind of counterbalance between the growing tree and the ever steady rock in the foreground. So I'm really, really delighted with how these particular images turned out. This second one probably more so than the first, just because there's not much else happening in the frame bar kind of rock and tree, which I really, really do find pleasing. So really happy with how these turned out for sure.
So this probably fell off a couple days ago. You can feel the bark kind of feels like skin.
So the sun has set, but wow, the light that is lingering in the sky is marvelous. Beautiful pastel kind of colors up there, and really lending itself well as backlit silhouette shots of these mighty, these trees are gorgeous. So we've all been playing around with some wonderful, wonderful images here, and I really feel like I've captured quite a good one here. So we are going to gather ourselves and kind of head back now in the next few minutes to go have some food, but then we're going to come back in, like I said, to shoot some Astro. So if any of these particular images that I've captured right now, oh, there's one of these guys here now, but if any of these turned out to be any good, I'll pop them up on the screen for you now. I think for all of us, as the sun set, the sky just was so beautiful. While we didn't get any clouds on this particular night, what we did get was just a burning afterglow of sunset, and it was so beautiful to photograph in. This selection of images that we are looking at now are probably some of my favorites. Like I mentioned earlier, this was my technically my third time visiting this location, and these are probably my favorite images that I photographed. Out of all of those visits, there is just something so magical about the glow that's in the air and how everything is catching that light. It's such a wonderful display of why that transition into a blue hour can be such a powerful time to photograph. Now, the last image that you're seeing here of Courtney is just so wonderful. I really love how this image turned out. Adds such a wonderful balance to the landscape. You've got obviously Courtney here standing on the rock, and then this wonderful tree in the distance as well. Such a beautiful image, and the color, of course, in that sky and the gradient, it's just so magic. We'll see more of Courtney indeed as we progress through these videos, so fun times ahead. So wonderful photographic subject for sure, and super duper happy with how these images turned out. Wow, what an absolutely wonderful evening we had out there. I didn't do any talking to the camera because it was so dark, and headlights in Astro in a group setting is never a good thing. But what a wonderful experience. I have never actually photographed the Milky Way in a horizontal kind of orientation. So that was a real treat, and I wasn't even expecting to see it looking like that. So I was super duper delighted. And we found this wonderful quiver tree just silhouetted off to the background. Took a few different variations of the shot, so I'll pop them up on the screen for you now if any of them turned out well. So let's go. Wow. The night sky here is just absolutely magic, and like I mentioned, this was my first opportunity photographing the Milky Way in a horizontal orientation, and it was absolutely just pure magic. Y'all know at this stage now I do enjoy a good bit of Astro, and wow, this place delivered that in spades. Wonderful opportunity we had here to photograph this beautiful lone quiver tree as it emerged from the darkness and silhouetted so beautifully against such a crystal clear canopy of stars. What a wonderful treat we had. This next image, again, it's that same quiver tree but just a different orientation. We tried our best to try and maneuver the Milky Way throughout the frame, and while I personally do prefer the first image in terms of its composition, this one is the Milky Way basically cutting across at a diagonal throughout the frame. Now obviously I still love this image, and the reason why I feel the other one is stronger is just because personally, like I mentioned, I haven't photographed the Milky Way in this orientation, so that's the only reason why I prefer it. But wow, what an absolutely tremendous end to such a beautiful day of photography. And it's we were all ecstatic at the images we were looking at the back of our cameras, and it was such a fun evening underneath the stars, and super delighted with how they turned out. So I don't no idea what this video is going to be like at all. It's a bit of a mishmash of things. All my stuff is charged here. I'm in this wonderful room I have to myself. So first thing tomorrow morning, I need to go to the repair station, because the repair garage, because the back lights on the vehicle that I'm driving don't work. And I got pulled over today, which was awesome. And so I need to go and get that sorted tomorrow morning. And then after that we head into Luderitz for the fun times in Kolmanskop. But I essentially wanted to if I could make 4 videos from this journey. One is this one, the next one is Kolmanskop, and then the following one will be the desert in the Namib desert. and sausage fly and dead fly and all that wonderful stuff, and then of course then the wonderful wildlife we'll be photographing towards the end of the journey. But for now I'm going to leave it here, folks, because I am knackered. It was a long drive. It was probably about 6 hours or so, and then it's 12:30, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning now, and so I really need some sleep and I have to get up early. So take it easy, everybody. Cheers.